I am sailing, I am sailing home again, across the sea.
I've been to all the host summits up there, I've spoken to all of them. And this time I thought I'd just be a passenger and just sit in. And the next thing I saw my name on the agenda. Thanks, Raymond. Then he created a title for me, We're All Okay, which he nothing to do with me, but as a play on my name, of course. And then he changed it again. I've had absolutely nothing to do with any of the planning. But anyway, I've taken his first title, We're All Okay. And what I want to talk about is actually making our presentations better than okay. Presentations. And let me tell you how this kind of came about. There's some simple do's and don'ts and stuff like that. Last year, that's 2017, in April, I went to two very interesting, quite important meetings. The first was a meeting by the Engineering Graduates Association of UCD. I'm a UCD graduate, and that's why I went to it. And every year they had this panel discussion. And this time it was autonomous vehicle development. That means, driverless cars. How do they work? How do you deal with the social aspects and ethical things like if your choice is you're on a bridge, you either run down an old lady and kill her, or you drive off a bridge and kill yourself. What do you program the car to do? So really interesting, challenging subjects. And very distinguished speakers, university professors, philosophies, psychologists, a partner in a major international consultancy. So the idea is each of those guys people gave a talk on different aspects of the subject, and then there's a panel discussion afterwards. It's a great way of doing it. Well, and these are people for whom speaking publicly is their bread and butter, pretty much, you could say. Well, I have to say, I have never been so appalled by the terrible quality of those speeches, of those talks. And this is not the first time I've been to this meeting. Previous years, it was the same thing. Very interesting talks, dreadfully delivered. Basic mistakes, with the one exception in this case is the lady, PhD psychologist. To save their blushes, I redacted all the names, being nice to them. Okay, so that's one. That was in beginning of April, and a couple of weeks later, my background is the oil and gas industry, and once a year they have this oil and gas industry evening for the whole of Ireland. And there were three main speakers in this one. The first was the technical director of a top Australian oil company, and the other was an internationally well-known, the name will be known to everybody here, oil executive. And the third person was a representative of the industry in Ireland itself. And it was the same story. Dreadful, dreadful speakers, except for the third one, well, the first two people whose bread and butter is to go and speak to the public about their industry, and they don't know how to speak to the public. I couldn't believe it. These top professors and these technical directors and so forth don't know how to speak to a group of people, make a formal presentation. Well, imagine how terrible it must be further down the line, the people who look up to them for their guidance. And I was so annoyed at these meetings and at the quality of the presentations, I started recording them, taking photographs of some of the dreadful slides. And from that I thought I've got to try and do some work with this stuff and show how it should be done. So let's just talk about the presentation. And I have to say, I'm not really speaking to this audience because of the high quality of the presentations that we see time and again at these tangible events. But a presentation is not a report, even if it is a presentation about a report. And lots of people don't know that. A report is a detailed account of a particular issue, full reasoning, data, nice charts, pictures, everything else. Whereas a presentation is just an overview of the main points and a bit of a taster that you might want to find out more about the report later. Too many people think a presentation is just another form of a report. It is not. What are the characteristics of a good presentation? The number one is clarity. Clarity. What do we mean by that? Well, there are two sides to clarity. Let's talk first of all about verbal clarity. And it's simple stuff. Clear diction, consonants articulated, and vowels as well, aiming a talk to the back of the room, not just to Harriet. It's elementary stuff, often overlooked. We should not be rushing our words. They gobble, you don't hear them clearly. And we should speak with enthusiasm and passion. We saw lots of it so far this afternoon. But if I'm not enthusiastic and passionate about the subject, how can I expect the audience even to be remotely interested or enthused? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples now. Okay, these are just short clips from two of the talks, the actual talks.
So really working at data is really hard, building that into our portfolio. We've also reprocessed 2 existing 3D data sets.
That's one.
And be leading the charge offshore island, but we acknowledge that we can't do it alone. And so on the bottom of...
Aren't you absolutely captivated by that? Couldn't you understand what was going on? In fact, the words were very interesting and very pertinent. Okay, so that's...
It's very monotone.
Well, that's part of it. Droning on, droning on. These are people who speak for their living. Okay, so that's one. So then I'm going to play you a little clip from another lady. She's a Professor Emma Teeling. She's a professor, UCD professor, and she's professor of something very long, 2 or 3 very long words, which I cannot pronounce, I cannot remember, don't know what they mean. Well, I do know what they mean. They mean bats. She's a professor of bats. Listen.
So what I want you all to do right now is to think of this mammal that I'm going to describe to you. The first thing I'm going to tell you about this mammal is that it is essential for our ecosystems to function correctly.
Okay, that's just the beginning of a talk. But you see the point I'm trying to get? The clarity of her words, the projection of the voice, and clarity has nothing to do with accent. She has a North Dublin accent. Accent is not important. What is important is she enunciates her words very clearly, articulately, and projects them. And you can hear the enthusiasm she has for a subject. You listen to those couple of sentences, and don't you want to know more about these damn bats? You can find out it's from a TED talk. Okay, so that's how not to do it and how to do it. It's very important as well that the words we use connect with the charts. Too often, people are speaking, they put up charts, and you don't know what is the connection. The charts themselves need to be readable. This is elementary stuff, but not understood by many. The message that we try to get across should be simple, and it should be understandable. So those are real key words: clarity, simplicity, understandability. It's not rocket science. So let's talk a bit about charts. But first, let me say my mantra is blank space is your enemy. You've got a big screen. Use it. Think of the people at the back of the room. In the back of the room, is that a bit easier to read? No, okay. Then that screen is too small. Blank space is your enemy. Now, I'm going to give a few examples from these talks I've been moaning about. Here's one of the typical charts that was up there. Don't worry about the poor quality of the photo. That's because it's a photo of a photo from a screen. Now, but what I draw your attention to is all that nice writing underneath. It's almost unreadable. I can read it on up close. I bet it can't be read at the back of the room. And then you look, what does it actually say? It starts off saying, LNG as a marine fuel provides simplicity. That is actually the key phrase. Then it rabbits on about removing uncertainty, development, other things. Just rubbish. The rest of it, delete it. Then at the bottom, it tells us the guy, Rob Duncanson, was the guy who said that. Who cares who says it? We're trying to get a message across about simplicity of marine LNG as a marine fuel. So get all that writing away. Immediately our picture can get bigger. We're using up that empty space. And this is the only sentence of importance. But we can simplify that as well. It talks about simplicity. So maybe we just say LNG as marine fuel, simplicity, and a nice picture of a boat to illustrate the point. And you compare that chart, give that a green tick, compare that chart with that. I think there's no contest. Okay, now here's another beautiful, typical bar chart. I think there's not one sin that is not committed in that bar chart. So let's start. Unreadable, first of all. All this stuff here, unreadable, tiny font, no contrast. This is yellow on orange, can you believe? And it's so easy to put, anybody can read that? Nah, well, I can because I'm close. Post-well analysis. And it's all in capitals. Okay, what we should be aiming at is getting the biggest font we can fit on the page We hate blank space. And then look for high contrast, which is light on dark, or dark on light, and definitely not yellow on orange. Okay, so let's just play with that. Let's go to the top row. Bang! Something, poof, that's already coming to light. Big letters, black on white. And then we can do something similar with the other orange arrows. Make the lowercase easier to do it in lowercase, big as possible. It's not a whole lot easier to read. You don't have to understand what's about because that's the actual, but just to see. And so we'll do that with the rest of the arrows. Bang. So we take away all the background stuff, and you're left with that. Something terribly clear, very easy to talk around, makes sense to everybody in the room. So we give that a green tick. So again, we're comparing that with that. Okay, here's another example. This is a chart that was put up, and it was to do with LNG, liquid natural gas in Australia, bulk carriers and so forth. Three pictures on one screen. So that means 3 small pictures. So that means 3 unreadable, understandable pictures on one screen. Why? It's unnecessary. Now this is all about Australia. There's a nice map of Australia. So why don't we fill the screen with a map of Australia? The only thing really you can make out, Pluto, Port Hedland, maybe you can read Australia. But here's the point here. There's a lot of unreadable stuff there. If it's unreadable, either make it readable, enhance it, or get rid of it. So why don't we just, like that, make stuff readable and understandable. A lot of stuff here, who cares that's Queensland or South Africa? That's not important to the story. So just get rid of surplus stuff. And suddenly that's a map that's very quickly, easily understood by anybody. So let's go to this nice big picture. What is it? Well, it's written down there on the bottom left corner. But you've got a great big, a great big acres of empty space to fill up. So write it there, Pluto LNG, Western Australia. Take away the stuff on the bottom left, and maybe stick a map of Australia on there that we just looked at. And there's Pluto, that's Pluto. We're talking about this thing being over there on the northwest coast of Australia. And we can do something similar with this one, Port Hedland, Pilbara. Okay, written in the bottom, as you see, with small letters. I'll just shove it up to the top, blow it up as big as you can. Little map of Australia. Now we see where Port Hedland is, and a nice photograph of LNG and liquid natural gas carriers. So suddenly you're using the screen, you're making stuff understandable. Okay, compared to that. All right. Oh, this is a classic. This one is a classic. This is clearly a scan from some detailed report. So nice pie chart there, and a whole lot of data there. Well, the point is, nothing on the screen should be unreadable. If it's important, blow it up till it's reasonable. If it's not, get rid of it. So that whole thing is irrelevant to a presentation, relevant to the report, not to a presentation. And once we get rid of that, we can blow up, make the pie chart bigger. But the pie chart itself is very confusing because you've got all these colored pieces, and then at the bottom there's a code to say which one is which. Pink is row, and the other is low, etc. And you've also got little small writings around the corner, around there. Why not simply, instead of having all this stuff here, if it's this one, write it on this one. If it's the pink, write the row on the pink. And you can get rid of all that other noise around the corner. And you can go a step further because you can simplify those numbers. This, for example, this says row, 6.8 million, 16.2%. Who wants that level of precision? So we just round these numbers, 7 million, 16%. We can do that for all of them like that. And then we can put a nice pithy heading for the whole thing, and that chart suddenly becomes very easy to understand. This is a cargo breakdown, nice pie chart, tells you what the slices mean, what the numbers are, to an adequate degree of accuracy for a presentation. This is not a formal report. So we've gone from this unintelligible, what's it all about, not an idea, to that. And by the way, by taking all that dross away, we can make the pie even bigger. Blank space is our enemy. Okay, so what I want to kind of finish up with, if we want to improve our presentation, the best thing is watch how other people do it well, watch how other people do it badly, and then copy the good stuff. Listen to great speeches, and you do hear them on the TV and roundabout on YouTube and movies and so forth. See, what is it about that speech that captivates? Why is it great? And look at TED Talks on YouTube. They're almost universally superb, the TED Talks. That, as I say, that Emma Teeling thing about the bats, that's a TED Talk. And I found it very easily. I just went to TED Talks, I did a search, one word, I said Irish, she's the first one who came up. She was great. So then we copy other people. It's not difficult, but it just takes a little bit of different thinking. And we should always remember that, you know, the responsibility for transmitting a message lies entirely with the transmitter of the message, not with the receiver. In the same way, if you post a letter to me, or now I post a letter to you, and you don't receive it, and you don't receive it because I didn't write the address clearly, or I didn't put enough stamps on, sorry, that's my fault you didn't receive the letter. It's not your fault you didn't receive the letter. The same, if I'm droning on and everybody's asleep, no, as it happens not, but if everyone is asleep, am I boring you? That is my fault as the message transmitter. It's not the fault of the audience. So what we need to do, we want to make it life easy for the receiver to receive what it is we're trying to tell them. And I hope that I've made it easy for you to understand me pretty much. So thank you very much.